responsibility in Islamabad, मैंने प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब से 7 कमेटीज की in principle approval ले ली. The way the Prime Minister of Pakistan works, I often say that he doesn't walk, he doesn't jog, he runs and he runs up on his toes. And it's very difficult for the ministers to catch up with him. But we must make use of that. Prime Minister cannot do everything himself. We, his ministers, have to support him and move shoulder to shoulder with him in order to accomplish his mission and in order to make this country prosperous. Acha, ye committees kya hai, now I'm going to go very fast. सबसे पहले मुल्क में कोई bankruptcy law नहीं है. Can you imagine that? उसका नतीजा क्या होता है कि 90 दिन में आपका क्रेडिट इंफॉर्मेशन ब्यूरो में अगर नाम आ जाता है तो कोई बैंक आपको, जो पहली बड़ी मुश्किल है एक्सेस टू कैपिटल, कोई बैंक आपको करीब नहीं आता. इसका मतलब है कि आपको ब्रीदिंग स्पेस ही मिलती है. अच्छा, अब जो मसले आ रहे हैं क्रेडिट इंफॉर्मेशन ब्यूरो में नाम आने के, वो 90% उन वजह से आ रहे हैं जो मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक इंडिकेटर्स खराब होने की वजह से हुए थे. क्यों? मार्कअप रेट ज्यादा थे. क्यों? एनर्जी रेट ज्यादा थे. क्यों? कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स रेट ज्यादा थे. तो उसमें अगर हम एक बिजनेसमैन को प्रोटेक्शन क्रेडिटर्स नहीं दे सकते और एक अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं दे सकते कि वो अपने आप को रिस्ट्रक्चर करें, तो दैट्स अ फेलियर ऑफ द सिस्टम. So that committee has been accepted, and inshallah very soon we are going to come up with a bankruptcy law to protect those people जो without their fault एक ऐसी सिचुएशन में आ गए हैं कि उनको अगर सपोर्ट ना की जाए तो फैक्ट्री बंद होगी. पहली बात. दूसरी बात, कमेटी की जो अप्रूवल हुई है, रिवाइवल ऑफ सिक यूनिट्स. यू सी, वी हैव or had a current account deficit crisis. क्या होता है कि the moment our GDP growth crosses 2 or 3%, we have pressure on the reserves. Why? Because our exports do not increase with the same pace of imports. Why? Because we have become an import-dependent economy. Why? Because in certain cases, we have had free trade agreements which we were not fully ready for. In all honesty, they were the right things to do, but there is no harm in revisiting them. There is a general perception that the days of import substitution are gone. If that perception is correct, then America, with all that advanced technology, why did America have to impose these super tariffs? They are imposing the super tariffs not just for negotiating purposes, but to revive their dead manufacturing sector. If America could not compete with all their volumes, how can Pakistan compete? So what has happened is that even for domestic consumption, we have not been able to protect those industries which we saw 30 years ago. The proliferation of the industrial sector with small things like lights and bulbs and chandeliers and woodwork and all, it's all now imported raw material. We never allowed them or protected them enough for them to be competitive. The protection is not given forever. It's given with a sunset clause. Okay? So there has to be a fine line between adequate protection, reasonable protection, and on the other extreme, more than necessary protection. We do not want to spoil or make the industry uncompetitive, but in order for them to start, we have to give them some protection. The whole policy now should be based on export-led industrialization. That is very important. Because what have we done? If today we reach 5% growth, we can, it's not a problem. But it will put pressure on the reserve.